changing conditions of the track, and it will change during the night because it's getting colder. Heat's coming out of the bitumen. It'll affect the handling of the cars. The American crews will be able to redial the cars in quicker than our guys because we're still on that learning trail.
And George Elliott, in a sensational qualifying session last night, put himself on the front row of the grid alongside Tracy Leslie, a time of 27.45. Elliott has gone fast around here. Maybe he was just a little bit psyched by the massive speed of Tracy Leslie last night. On the second row of the grid, Charlie O'Brien. Comes Barry Graham, the man who is the NASCAR champion of Australia. Alongside him, Max Dumsney, his teammate, who was the NASCAR champion of Australia. Then Bradley Jones, the man who...
Ex-Tasmanian Gene Cook off position number 15 with the XR8 Falcon. Ken James in zero.
Of the American drivers, followed by another 3 drivers to bring us up to 22 competitors in total on the grid. And Alan Grice, with only 2 laps remaining before the lights go out on the pace car. It's going to be a long race, but it's almost 2 races in one, isn't it, for the first 50 laps and then the second?
Yes, it certainly is. We've got a changing track condition, and of course with these big heavy cars and their tyres that aren't that big, we've got a car stalled there, so it'll probably add an extra warm-up lap. With those changing conditions, it's so important that they change the cars to go with it.
More 7-year-old Tracy Leslie from the United States.
He's made his competition mainly in ARCA over the last 12 months, and he did mention to us that in 3 weeks he won on a super speedway, the following week on a short track blacktop, and the following week on dirt. Amazing, as he'd never run dirt before in his life, and the situation is the only thing he said that messed him around was that cushion. We'll talk about that a little later, but the car he's in is the ex-Harry Gant Lumina, straight out of the ballpark. It's a very, very strong race car.
Leslie, of course, has been running V6 cars, not V8s. This is the first time he's been in a V8 NASCAR for 4 years. And I guess when he set his pole position last night, it was the smoothness that had...
For the full lap race distance. I'm not putting any doubt on the ability of the Australian drivers. Man for man, they can match the Americans. I know that. But it's just that thing that worries me is the tactics in the pits and the setups that'll change as the conditions change.
The lights are out on the pace car. There are just 2 corners, 1 corner now remaining before we get a start in the USA versus Australia challenge. They're coming down to the start-finish line now. Green flag is waving. Tracy Leslie in the lead. George Elliott alongside him. Charlie O'Brien on the inside looking for a way through.
Leslie got a great jump at that start. Charlie's tucked down tight on the bottom line there. George Elliott certainly trying to go with him.
One car slowing dramatically at the back of the pack. It looks like the Valvoline car of Max Dumsney. So the former national stock car champion is in trouble. Had to make a decision to be here tonight, either take a chance on getting behind in the point score of this championship or his Quit Series championship in sprint cars.
Walter Giles having a look down the inside of Charlie O'Brien, and he's through. The previous lap all the way round, Charlie O'Brien and Jim Richards were side by side for the full lap, but they've now line astern. Walter Giles has made a move through, and George is tucked on. He's determined he's going to stay with Leslie.
Robin Best is also into the pits. The 2 times national champion is slowing dramatically.
Leslie in the lead. Elliott looking for a way through. These 2 drivers sprinting away from the field.
We've got smoke from Walter Giles' car, I think I saw on the way past. In fact, he looks like he's slowing, but Leslie's certainly not, and George is hooked up.
George is a sprint specialist. He can dial in laps for an amount of time, goes for it down the inside, takes Leslie on the inside. New race leader, George Elliott from Australia.
And didn't the crowd like that?
Jim Richards in 3rd place, Morgan Shepherd in 4th, Walter Giles in 5th, Charlie O'Brien in 6th, Barry Graham in 7th. Joining us in the commentary position is Billy Cannell from the United States. Billy, what a race. And we're winning, mate.
You are winning. The Australian George Elliott just blew the doors off of Tracy Leslie. Tracy goes high out of turn number 4. He may be having some early race problems. I don't know. What do you think, Grace?
Well, Walter Giles, I saw some smoke earlier. He's dropped to the low line. He's on his way into the pits. They're how disappointing for him so early in the race. And there's a fair bit of smoke coming out of the back of that car.
There it goes.
Could be that Tracy may have gotten in some of that fluid and just backed out of it for a while. There we see Leslie going back by in the Detroit gasket car. He goes back into the commando round George Elliott.
Yeah, George Elliott taken a bit by surprise there, I think, when Leslie came around the outside.
He nailed him on the outside.
Yeah.
we're going to see, you know, as they pace themselves around for 100 laps here. It's great to be back with you guys on SBS and to talk to all this wonderful Australian countryside as they watch NASCAR racing.
Well, you're
Not
not
only
only
that,
talking,
Bill.
yeah, exactly. You're not only talking Australia, you're talking most of Southeast Asia as well, because this is going right across the Philippines, right across Indonesia, and even up into China.
How wonderful. Good day, mates, and I want to tell you, it's a great day at the races. We're glad we're back in the lead for a moment, but I've got this feeling, Bryce. I got a feeling that if this guy Leslie can or Shepherd
Elliott back into the lead.
that an Australian's going to pull this one off. We're going to find out later on. There's a ways to go. That's twice Elliott's been up front.
Look at Morgan Shepherd starting to work through the field, up into third position behind these two drivers, and he's closing fast.
He's a sneaky creature, and Alan Grice will tell you that. He's raced with him in America, isn't he, Alan?
Yes, he is. He'll hang in there all night.
Shepherd is up the third. Good run. Now, he's had an ailing car, John, all week.
Yeah, he even qualified. Tracy Leslie is starting to make his move again on the outside of George Elliott. This is incredible stuff.
There was a good shot.
And got him, too.
Yeah, he got him out of turn number 4. We saw Shepherd in at number 21. He's right at home in that Ford. Here comes Leslie. There comes George Elliott.
But look at Shepherd gaining.
To Australia, so he's had very little time to rest.
Here's some bad news for the Australians too. Jimmy Richards is in the pits. He's already lost 1 lap. I don't know what they're doing. It looked like they were going to change a tyre, but they're maybe a little more terminal than that, perhaps.
Robert Tinworth, one of the first drivers to be lapped on the field, as the cracking pace of this race really starts to extend the legs of these leaders. There goes Richards, smoking him out of the pits, but he's at least 1 lap down now.
Yes, I think probably 2 laps.
You think this track is going to be that hard on rubber tonight, Gray?
Well, it shouldn't be with the coolness. The temperature should be okay with rubber. It certainly wouldn't have been a straight-out wear problem then. Maybe he's cut a tyre down. Hopefully it's only something as minor as that.
I've seen Leslie racing, and he is now starting to pour the pressure on himself.
A Calder, North Carolina driver who just got married to his 9th bride this year. Can you believe that? He is married to his 9th bride this year.
The lovely Cindy.
That's her.
How about that? And this is his honeymoon right here in Australia.
It is his honeymoon, that is for sure. They only got married right before the Rockingham, so this has to be a honeymoon.
It's a sensational hobby, isn't it?
They'd have a reunion. They'll be able to play basketball.
I must ask Morgan next year. Morgan, you never did tell me how many children you had. He likes to roller skate, too. We tried to get him to do that here at the racetrack. He's up to 3rd. He won here the Christmas race in '88.
Jordan's up to 6th position.
Good run for Brad, too, up there at 6th. Now, Jimmy Hensley has fallen all the way back to the 8th spot with Ian Thomas riding 9th and then Cook back there in the 10th spot. There comes Elliott again to the outside. He's going to take Shepherd with him in the draft. That's the way they work the draft together. And now Tracy Leslie finds himself back in 3rd. Shepherd going for the lead on the inside, John.
Moving up on the inside. It's going to be tight. Sparks from the car as they go down into turn 3.
That car was bottoming out with him when he come in through turn number 3, and Morgan had to back out of it because it got a little loose. I mean, very loose.
Tracy Leslie now right on the back of Morgan Shepherd, looking for the way through. Not there.
Elliott continues to lead. The Australian colors are showing stout at the Thunderdome.
These guys are slowing themselves down slightly. In the background, you can just start to see, as Morgan Shepherd goes for the lead, you can just start to see the threatening frame of Charlie O'Brien in the 15 BOC car.
Boy, when O'Brien gets up there, makes it a 4-car battle. I mean,
there's Charlie.
There's Charlie. It is going to be a real fracas. Now, that was Hensley way back there just a ways in that orange-colored automobile. But George Elliott, he's got his hands full, Alan Grice.
Yeah, certainly has. He certainly has. They're giving him a bit of a test out, and he's starting to run a little bit higher. The 2 Americans are still able to keep their cars down the bottom of the racetrack. I hope that hope George doesn't keep drifting high like that. It's not a good sign early in the piece.
Shepherd just took the lead out of that corner, got underneath George Elliott. Elliott rides 2nd, and Leslie remains back in.
Ken James in the Ajip Motor Oils Oldsmobile Cutlass. So while they clear him up, the field now bunches up, and I think once this field bunches up now and everyone's settled down,
whole new race.
And now you're going to find Barry Graham, the tough Barry Graham, really have a go.
Alan, what we see, we're going to see
Let's
the replay
see now
of
what happened here to Ken James.
He's just gone in very tight. He's been a little bit pinched and crowded, locked up in the rear, went round. Everybody's missed him.
Good move.
Whoa, it's nearly about to tip. Boy, that's up a long way.
Yeah, he was tied up with
Brought it
Gene
back
Cook
down.
in the new Ford Falcon. out of Tasmania.
And he's certainly got 4 very square tyres. They were locked up for quite a long time. He must come in.
Lap remaining. Not much of a chance of anyone coming in now, I'd suggest.
I've driven that car that Jimmy Hensley's in, and when I hope it's a lot better than at the time I drove it. It was just the setup got away from us a little.
Well, they say, Alan, that the biggest modification that Hensley's made to the car is he's put in a seat large enough to hold him.
Well, the seat was very small when he got here, and he looked at that Danzel Mead car, and he said, Bill, there's no way I'm going to get in that seat. So he asked him to change the seat, and then they went to work on the race car after that.
Well, when I drive it, I think you would have described it, Bill, as the car was as loose as a goose in springtime.
I probably would. In other words, you'd have been running like on your rims on the border.
Okay, 1 corner remaining, and we'll be back into motor racing here. 23 laps down, 77 remaining. Pace cars off the track
To start.
Look at that jump. Shepherd got up through the gearbox
He got the jump,
rapidly.
yeah.
And I mean, he was on his way.
I think he caught George asleep a little there. Boy, it's tight into that first corner too. But not for the leaders. They're through nicely.
Going to see what Barry Graham could do now with a little bit of extra horsepower, he and Charlie O'Brien, and to see if Jimmy Hensley now can get locked onto that draft and move towards the front also. But Shepherd got a jump on the start now, but George Elliott has caught him, and so it's Tracy Leslie as they come out of 4.
and Graham just dropping back a little bit. So still, this race for the lead between these 3 drivers really seems to be on, no matter what the other guys have put in their way. In other words, put in a yellow flag. Still, these are the 3 dominant drivers.
Yes, it is. Jimmy Richards is now running on the pace again, but unfortunately he's 3 laps down, and that's just a bit too much.
Barry Graham in 4th position. He's now got to start to pull back milliseconds to try and move his way up onto the tail of Shepherd, Elliott and Leslie to make this a real race.
Well, the field just comes hurtling down in front of the trial and start-finish line again, moving into turn 1. We see Morgan, George Elliott, and Tracy Leslie. Now, the interesting part is Morgan thought they had some extra motors when he got here, and they didn't have an extra motor to put in this car. They had to work on that ailing motor, and the question is, will this motor make the distance?
261 kilometres an hour from Morgan Shepherd, as now George Elliott goes underneath him, and Tracy Leslie looks for the way through too.
He follows him in the slipstream right through the draft, and
Side by
side him and Shepherd off. Leslie will get out on top in second. He just slammed the door right up into the number 2 spot. Morgan,
and Gerald McDormand is in the pits.
And Barry Graham has caught the leaders.
Let's go to Gerald. Look for the race for the lead between Elliott and Tracy. Meantime, Barry Graham has overtaken Morgan Shepherd for 3rd position.
I'd say Barry Graham is going to be one to cope with before long in this race, Alan Grice.
Yes, he's making a move, there's no question of that. Charlie O'Brien's still lurking back there as well. He's not out of it yet.
Makes me wonder, John, if Morgan Shepherd's engine may be failing.
Yeah, there's
and are beginning to eat these Americans for breakfast.
And even when you look back through the field and you see Ian Thomas's 2nd car in the hands tonight of John Faulkner, because Faulkner crashed heavily 2 days ago, starting to work its way through the field, now up to 15th position and really starting to make a move up.
All we got up there right now, Alan Grice, is Tracy Leslie. He is getting a little bit of a distance pulled away from the 2nd place car, Elliott. But here is Graham, Tomo, Charlie O'Brien, all of them. They're all around Morgan Shepherd. He's right there in a nest of Australians.
Yes, there certainly is. Jimmy Richards is back on the pace, but as I mentioned earlier...
Front, how do you find your way through that? Brad Jones just in front of them.
Shepherd is falling off the pace, it looked like there, just for a little bit, but he's trying to pull back up. There he is, back up into the thick. He's driving at high groove, and I don't understand that unless his car is pushing to the outside also.
There's Ian Thomas having a run down the outside of it for Leslie on the back straight. And he's hit the lead. Ian Thomas has gone in front.
Richo trying to work his way through, get back up, get that lap off himself, but so hard in this traffic.
There's Jimmy Hensley trying to get around the Richards car, and now he's coming up on Barry Graham. That's Jimmy Hensley in the Danzel Mead car. But Tomo has gotten the lead. They said that car was going to be one to beat, and that is one fast race car for Ian Thomas. There's Shepherd, there's Elliott, and
Charlie O'Brien. Yeah.
Shepherd has got a lot of work behind him because there's 2 guys that would like nothing better than to get by. I remember what happened to Allen up at Surfers. He had to race one. Charlie O'Brien was back there stalking. He punctures a tire into the pits. O'Brien gets the win. That was a bunch of money to have to swallow. Tracy Leslie's a young guy, and he's hungry. He has not won a NASCAR event. He'd like to win this one here in Australia because he's got about 25 of all those Detroit gasket people down here, plus 60 Australian clients that are here tonight to watch him run.
It is amazing, isn't it, the amount of corporate interest that has suddenly appeared in NASCAR racing in this country. It's almost as if
We got a caution.
all the work that Bob Jones put in has suddenly come to fruition.
Absolutely. Wonder what the yellow is for. And Jimmy Hensley.
The car?
Yeah.
Maybe that, yeah.
Yeah, Cole Robinson's car, the ITEX Trade Exchange Pontiac Grand Prix.
That car looks like it hit the wall.
Sure does, on the front left-hand side.
Yep.
Buckled hood. If that car was able to continue with those headers and those pipes off, that driver would suffer in about
Yes.
20 laps. He would be breathing a lot of bad fumes that could make you very sick.
Not to mention the fact that John Faulkner's come to the pits to get new tyres on. He was lying in 15th position, so he hadn't advanced up through the field. But I was in Tracy Leslie's pit the other day. You talk about buckled hood and buckled bonnet, and there was a mechanic underneath it, and he said to Tracy Leslie, "Hand me the shifter." And Tracy handed him a gear stick.
Right.
Well,
That's what it is.
no. A shifter is a spanner.
Now,
What's
wait
a
a minute.
spanner? A spanner's a wrench. You got it? Easy.
I hadn't learned that one yet, folks, but I'm a try. Now I know what the boot
What do you
is.
got to do with the shifter underneath there? He said, you know.
We're going to stick it right up through the floorboard and hook it to the transmission. Now, John, you're talking to a guy that's a Jericho transmission expert. I happened to fly one all the way over here from North Carolina with me on an airplane for that guy sitting beside of you, Alan Grice.
Yes.
Okay, let's, as the cars come to the pits and out again, let's have a look at what's caused all of this, and we may well see Cole Robinson. We see the exhaust pipe come off the car. Look at the back of the field.
Bounces around a bit.
There it goes.
There's the exhaust pipe spat.
Yeah, and that was
kicked him.
Cole
Yeah.
Robinson's car, and that was just enough to get him moving
Yeah.
sideways.
Just enough to get the tails kicked out, and it's come back the other way and smacked the wall.
And had you touched that thing right now or any safety work?
Yellow came out and
Is this
closed everyone
Bradley
up again.
Jones coming in?
Oh, yeah. Well, Bradley Jones has been having suspension problems all weekend. He's just bought a new car from the States, which you know about, Billy. And today, that car, which only arrived from the docks 2 days ago and therefore couldn't be raced, became his spare parts car. Even as late as this morning, they were taking suspension bits off that car.
Off the Jeff Gordon
Yeah,
car.
and putting it on this one.
There's
Yeah.
Jimmy Hensley in the Southern Motors car. And boy, have they worked this week. His wife has been so worried about Jimmy getting that car ready and being able to race down here at the Thunderdome, but Damsel and the crew has done a spectacular job. Thomas leads, Leslie second, Shepard third, O'Brien fourth, Jimmy Hensley is fifth, with Barry Graham in sixth.
In fact, just to pick you up on it, the car 27 you saw going out there was the other Denzel Mead car, which
That's
is
right.
in fact being driven by Kim Jane,
Jane.
because Kim Jane crashed 2 days ago, so he's leased the second Denzel Mead car.
No wonder I'm getting those two mixed up
Hey,
tonight.
is that John? I think he's just taken a point of order on you, Bill. Here, I think that's a point of order he's taken.
The honourable member speaks.
Are you doing that?
Brad Jones back out onto the racetrack.
Brad's got a problem with that car. They've had several stops. They've been jacking the weights around, and they got underneath it last time and were working away under the back. Maybe he's got a shock absorber or a panhard rod problem there.
Gerald McDonough in the pits.
Coming in for the second time.
You picked up a spot.
Look
Yeah.
at the grunt from Ian Thomas's car as he comes up to challenge Jim Richards. He
Just-
was really hauling him in.
Tomo's car is very strong out there tonight. And he expected it to be. He says the chassis on this car works magnificently here at the Thunderdome.
I'll just run through that again, Bill. A lot of people out here aren't used to the pace cars and the way it works. On the when they restart, the lap cars are on the inside, the fast cars on the leading lap are on the outside. What Jim has managed to do is get a very good start on the restart, and he's jumped in front of the lead car. That's Ian Thomas on the screen now, who's actually leading the race. But in front of him on the road is Jim Richards. Now, Jim was 2 laps behind. Because he's past the leader, he's now 1 lap behind. So if there's another caution, which Jim will be praying for, he will be able to go on around and form up behind, having regathered his lap. Then, of course, he'll try and do it again.
That's exactly right. Well explained. And by the way, you know, everybody says, you know, these left-hand cars that turn left down into the corners may be turning the wrong way than you folks do here in Australia, but they are a lot of fun to drive because they're a little bit bigger automobile than you see normally on the streets every day, downtown Melbourne or downtown Sydney. And Tomo and all the guys went over, as Alan Grice has done, and purchased these automobiles.
Morgan Shepherd now is pulling Tracy Leslie along, and they are gaining on the leader, Ian Thomas. So the race for the lead is really on between.
File, they will overtake Tomo. There's no doubt about it. While Tomo is one car, but if Tracy and Shepherd go up alongside, they're going to lose ground.
An Australian in first, Americans in second, third, and now with Jimmy Hensley coming up third. Shepherd had the choice then whether he'd really make it hard for him or maybe slightly give way, and I think he took the soft option.
I think Tracy's crew now told me, they've told him to turn it on. We're at lap 50, almost a halfway, and they're going to give him the signal, punch it and let's go. Give it all she's got.
Hensley, meantime, is really starting to close the gap in fourth position.
That's a good run for Jimmy Hensley in a Danville Meade car, and I think, yes, Alan Grice, you'll agree, because that's not one of the better handling race cars on this race.
No, they've obviously improved the car quite a lot. I don't think that Charlie O'Brien and Barry Graham are out of this either. They're running right on the pace. In fact, Charlie's just moving up a little now. I think those two cars are just trying to keep the rubber together, watch what's going on in front, have their crew watch what the American crews are doing. I think they're right in it. I think they're right in it.
Well, there's Charlie O'Brien right behind Jimmy Hensley. Now, Leslie is really knocking on the door of Tomo's car.
He is, isn't he? And it'll be interesting to see how Thomas, suffering from neck injury,
right, and he's going to do so.
Yeah, he was, well, he didn't come out with the speed of that corner, but he certainly came out nice and tight, didn't he?
He really did.
Lap traffic now in front of them. Ian Thomas winds his way through it. Leslie backs off ever so slightly.
Look at that line of lead lap cars that are all tucked in. Any one of those cars can win this race. There's about 6 of them there in the draft, John.
Hensley now really putting the muscle on Morgan Shepherd.
We haven't seen much out of Brad.
Out of the draft. Here he comes.
Not this time. Tomo closed the door on him. He really did.
He's got plenty of power, that engine that Tomo's got, isn't he?
He really does.
Plenty of power.
He told us that car was hard to beat, and he's sure proven that fact tonight and today here at the Thunderdome.
That's the race for the lead between Ian Thomas
and Tracy Leslie.
Tracy Leslie.
That car, of course, the man that owns that car owns actually 3 major factories in America. Ron Parker. He owns DG Trim Products. He owns MGM Brakes, which run on a lot of your big tractor trailers over here, and Detroit Gaskets. And those gaskets are on every Ford and every Chevrolet that comes off the assembly line in America. Can you imagine? That's why that man's in racing. Their first trip to Australia, boy, were they excited about it.
Well, in fact, for Tracy Leslie, his first trip ever outside the United States.
And for a lot of the crew.
Yeah. Okay, Leslie down the inside this time, looking for the way through. Morgan Shepherd with Hensley climbing all over him in third position. Behind them comes Charlie O'Brien, then Barry Graham.
And in fact, he's shut that engine down, I think.
Well, that's very costly to a great competitor and a former Australian NASCAR champion.
Yeah,
Barry Graham.
There's no rush.
Haste.
There's no haste about the car at all. So let's say that that's over and now. Meantime, Ian Elliott still in the lead. Behind him comes Tracy Leslie. Then comes Morgan Shepherd. Then Jimmy Hensley. And now Charlie O'Brien starting to take the race up to Hensley.
You mean Ian Thomas?
Ian Thomas.
Not Ian Elliott.
That's what I said.
Ian Thomas.
Oh, what a
slow
shame.
car blocked him. They had to get back on the outside.
Yeah, he got boxed, and Hensley wasn't going to give him
no ground.
A ground to get through there either. He's playing for keeps.
He was holding his own, and that takes this late in the race because Tomo was running off and leaving him. This is a big break, isn't it, Alan? There.
We got the lights out.
20 laps to go when the green comes on.
And the green.
Oh, here comes a shuffle. Watch them 2 and 3 wide as they come down to the line. You're talking about a mad shuffle for those leaders to get back intact to the front of that field.
Thomas got a great restart.
Be interesting to see what Leslie, Hensley, O'Brien, and some of the rest of them can do now. Now, remember, Tracy Leslie has got on 4 fresh tires. Will that make a difference?
Yes,
2 fresh tires on Tomo's car. And here the leader's now trying to get around some lap traffic just out of the banking in turn number 4. Still, they're showing the Jones car as the leader. Thomas is in second. Dumsney third.
in third, yes. Then come the Americans. So a phalanx of Australians out in the lead. Look at Brad Jones sprinting away.
He's putting it together. 29.3 on his first restart lap.
Absolutely no problem, said Kim Jones, his team manager and brother. And at the moment, just look at young Bradley, the leader in the NASCAR Championship for the 94-95 season, taking the advantage.
27.
Right up onto the back of Shepherd and looking for a way through.
They're running out of time, and they know it. Shepherd, Hensley, and Leslie, all three of them. They've got nothing but Australian colors and glory in front of them.
Boxed behind O'Brien, in fact, and O'Brien's not going to make it easy for him to come through either.
I wouldn't want to be in that spot. Would you, Alan, this late in the race?
No, it's very interesting to look at the times. There's no question this is take no prisoners time. The leader's Jones. His last lap was a 28.0. Thomas, his last lap at 28.2. Dumsney at 28.1. O'Brien at 28.3. Shepherd at 28.5, although coming through traffic. Leslie at 28.2. So this is take no prisoners. They're coming home. This is a race home.
They have stomped that throttle all the way down, and don't be, anything can happen right now, fans, so just stay glued in your living rooms to the television. I mean, they could plant the wall, park the wall, take the grass down, anything can go wrong.
This is the race for second position between Ian Thomas and Max Dumsney. You can see behind them the American.
And he's coming flying down pit road. There's the damage to Morgan Shepherd's car. We told you they could take the walls down, John, and that's what's happening.
Locked everything up to stop. John Nissen, his team manager, thinking of leaving this car in Australia for the Surfers Paradise round next year. Probably not to be driven by Morgan, but maybe by another import.
Well, that's just about the ball game.
Yep, that's it for Shepherd. He will not have a back-to-back win.
Tracy Leslie is out there, still in 5th position, behind Charlie O'Brien. This is again the race for second position, and Max Dumsney has taken over from Ian Thomas. Meantime, sprinting away from him is Brad Jones.
I can't believe Jones wasn't even running that well earlier. Now he's just leasing this field.
From 0 to hero.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Thomas is in 3rd, O'Brien 4th, and Tracy Leslie 5th with Jimmy Hensley in 6th.
20 laps remaining. Quite incredible stuff.
And the lap times, as Alan said, have picked up so much.
Leslie is through O'Brien. Okay, so now O'Brien, Chevy Lumina, the Detroit Gaskets car, really start to fly round the outside.
Yeah.
Thomas, look at this, side by side, almost.
That's Tracy Leslie right on the tailgate of Ian Thomas's automobile.
Oh, yeah.
And ready to go with Hensley coming up on Tracy Leslie. Here comes Dumsney.
Dumsney's down the inside of the leader.
First and second go through, just out of shot. Meantime, this is the race for third between Ian Thomas and Tracy Leslie.
And I think we've got a new leader. As we watch that
Max
battle, there it
Dumsney,
is.
there's your leader from Brad Jones. So Max Dumsney, the man who knows America well, both in sprint cars and in NASCAR. Well, not in NASCARs over there, but in sprint cars over there, and in NASCARs here, takes the lead. The 1992 Australian NASCAR champion.
So Jones drops to 2nd, Thomas is 3rd, and Leslie back there in 4th. Is Leslie going to get by Ian Thomas's automobile? They're both very strong.
I think Bradley Jones' car has fallen off the pace. He's now into high 28s, whereas the rest of them are running lower 28s.
Well, I'd suggest to you that those few laps that we saw from Brad Jones came right from the heart, not from the car.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And I see now that Thomas and Tracy Leslie are about to catch Brad Jones. They are reeling Jones in up there in the number 2 spot.
Tracy Leslie looking desperately for a way through Ian Thomas. If he can't get through Thomas, he can't start to advance on Brad Jones and then on Max Dumsney.
And
just
O'Brien,
15 laps remain.
Charlie O'Brien is right behind Tracy Leslie. He's gotten by Jimmy Hensley. Hensley's there too. You got 4 cars battling for those top 3, 4, 5, 6 positions.
Yeah, undoubtedly now, Thomas is holding them up. Look at the way they're all starting to bunch up behind him. Something's got to give, and it's got to give pretty soon.
Yeah, and Thomas's last lap was a 29.0. His car's starting to go away. He's losing his setup, and the others are stacking up, as you say, John.
Tracy's much faster. You can see that.
Yeah.
He had a 28.9.
Yeah. This is going to be desperation stuff shortly.
Here comes Leslie. Looks for the way down the inside. He's going to do it.
He'll take the bottom.
Thomas's car still quick.
Yes, but he'll hang in there and crowds him and takes it.
Leslie's gone to third. Tracy Leslie's back in third. Now, will he overtake Brad Jones? Is there enough time, Alan Grice?
Yes, only just. But there is enough time. What will be very interesting now is to see on this next lap what lap time Tracy Leslie's car does, because that'll tell us exactly what shape it is. There is no doubt that he couldn't be going any harder, so the stopwatch is going to tell us the time. 27.87. He can win it from there. 27.8. And Leslie on that lap 28.0. So he's the quickest car out there at the moment.
There's Jones. Leslie is about to try to take over the number 2 spot.
10 laps remaining, and you can see right in the front of the picture there. There goes Brad Jones, and behind him comes Tracy Leslie, and just in front of them is Max Dumsney.
And Jones' car was loose coming out of that. That's which end of his car is gone. It's not tight, it's loose.
Oh, a touch between the two.
The way in, yeah. But he's got to get past him quickly, John, because he needs the time, he needs the laps.
Here he comes, he's gone through. He's done it.
Yeah, well,
has he?
No, he'll hold it.
He'll get it.
He'll get it. Yeah.
He gets second. He's in second now. Oh, Leslie's sideways.
He's gone.
Oh, man, the flaps come up. He hit the wall. Overdrive. Here comes
Thomas is
gone.
O'Brien Thomas.
And Hensley's gone as well. Hensley's involved in the melee as well.
Thomas gets to refire. He's going right back without losing any ground. But there's those flaps you've been hearing so much about coming up on the Tracy Leslie automobile.
Doesn't that make a lovely cushion for Max Dumsney?
Doesn't it? What? And Tracy Leslie's trying so hard to get the thing back in the race, has put it right in the middle of the racetrack.
Yeah.
He was driving his heart out, that's for sure, and he just overdrove it, and the car got out from under him.
I think it just stepped out in the rear on the way into the corner.
Let's have a look at it again here. See him starting to get very, very loose on the way out of that corner.
Well, he's gone in very deep, and he's turned in, and the tails just walked straight around as soon as he pulled the wheel down. Never was he going to get round that corner.
He was saying last night that it's a big transition from using the throttle on the Busch V6s and the throttle on these big NASCAR V8s. Maybe he just got on it too early.
Well, he was still on the way into the corner there, John.
Yeah.
Hadn't picked the car up. He's just gone in too hard. He's put some wonderful laps together. So late in the race, he's done 27s, and he's got heat right through his tyres. He's just gone in a bit hot, just as
Here it is again. Let's see it from the front. Alan, you call us through it.
Well, he's a little crowded. He's got to go in tight because Bradley's there. He turns in, and instantly the tail comes round. So he's still really got the foot on the brake, and the tail just steps out. And from then, of course, you've got... See, there's the flap come out that Bill was talking about. That's the slow down, stop the car from flying, if you like, backwards in the aerodynamics.
It saved a lot of lives this year in America.
Yes. But then, of course, what happens is the cars coming along behind, they can't see the accident. They get a call. There's a car in the wall in turn 1. They can see the smoke, so they jump on the brakes, and then they start going around like Ian Thomas.
Yeah.
There's O'Brien and then Jimmy Hensley. But Tomo didn't lose much ground. He got it back under power and took off.
But he had some square tyres, I'd say. 7 laps to go.
And in the pits, Gerald McDornan has George Elliott.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I was probably only running maybe 9/10 there in the early stages of the race. Still saving the car, so hoping it would be strong at the end of the race. But, you just can't help it when things break like that.
Well, that's racing, and boy, it's going to be a great last few number of laps to the finish line. The crowd here is very, very excited. Everyone on pit lane very excited as well.
Ian Thomas forced into the pits very quickly there, relinquishing his second place in the race. Seems like they took an exhaust pipe off the thing, Alan.
No, it was the cover that goes underneath the fuel tank at the back, and I'd say that he's felt it vibrating or dragging along the ground. Either that or his crew seen it and called him in, because if they didn't call him in, he'd probably get a black flag.
Very good restarter, Alan Grice. He's a man who knows how to jump the start well.
So
there's the placings. Dumsney, Ian Thomas, but Thomas, of course, into the pits. Bradley Jones, Jimmy Hensley, Charlie O'Brien, and Kim Jane in the leased car in 6th position. Now, any of those guys can make a jump at the start.
Bradley restarts. Looks like it at this point, yes.
There's been a lot of pessimists who've said it wasn't possible, that the Americans were just running too hot.
Laps to go. His car's obviously in good shape. Jones is going to do everything. He'll throw everything at him. The restart will be terribly important.
Hensley, too, because he has moved right up there.
Yes.
To really get that shot. If he can get through that gearbox quick enough.
Yeah, it's just so important how well the cars are now, how the condition of their tyres, whether they're pushing or loose. Pace cars off. The crowd's up and it's green.
Look at them waving. They're on their feet here. Thousands of race fans waving.
Brad Jones going for the inside run. Can't do it. Ducks to the outside. Tucks in behind Max Dumsney. Hensley comes through into third position. Charlie O'Brien in fourth.
O'Brien's not gaining much ground, but Hensley's there. Jones is there. He's going to make a move on Dumsney. Tries to go to the inside. Hensley's on the outside. Here they come.
Driving round the outside of Brad Jones.
Almost in the wall with 2 to go. Hensley again up alongside. What's going to happen? Somebody's going to have to give.
Dumsney blocking so well. Brad Jones now forced down to the inside, having to work the wheel to stay there. Charlie O'Brien now comes up into contention as well.
Oh,
and
massive
behind
crash.
us, as you said, a massive crash. And
they're racing
lights
back.
come on.
This will be it. Whoever gets back first is going to win this thing. Here they come.
Bradley Jones.
Bradley Jones in front of Max Dumsney, then Jimmy Hensley.
We will finish under yellow. No, we do not finish under yellow here at Thunderdome. No yellow flag, no white flag. That means
the yellow flag's out.
The yellow's out, but no white.
Now, it's also going to be touch and go, John, because there is in America, they race back to the yellow. When the yellows come on, the cars race back to the start-finish line before they cease passing and take up their positions.
Here's what happened, Alan. Let's have a look first at the crashes.
Yeah. Oh, that's Ian Thomas.
Wow.
Thomas up into the fence.
Looked like a tire let go with him.
Well, smoke for some reason.
And then Robin Best in car 11 takes out car 14, Neville Lance.
That car's pretty beat up.
Yep. 2 others tangled, the 13
Yeah.
and the
Gene
7.
Cook in the Falcon
And the 01.
01 Ken James. So they're all involved. And up on the banking now is Rowan Harmon in the 08 car. All at fairly low speed comparatively.
We have just been given the word there will be 3 green flag laps that have to be run to finish this one. So again, it is left up to Jones, Dumsney, and Hensley to decide it.
In the words of the North Carolinians, hallelujah.
Oh my goodness. Yes, hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Well, you know, it's been a...
Some beat up cars there.
Everybody was letting it all hang out.
Yes.
Nobody was cutting any corners.
It certainly would appear that Ian Thomas's car started it off.
There we are at the top of the screen. You can just see the melee all over the track there.
Yes, but we can't see it if something's let go on his car and caused the accident, or whether he's just had an accident by himself. We don't start early enough in the frame.
You know what we call that in America, John? A savage altercation.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Not a melee too, but it's a savage altercation.
Well, it's an expensive one too, I can tell you. For poor but proud Australian motor racers, this is a lot of money that's just gone up in smoke.
Well, Alan was trying to, you're talking about $100,000 a car, but Alan was trying to see what happened to Tomo. It just doesn't show it. And the safety crews are trying to clean that mess up over in turn number 2, just about every piece of equipment.
I think he's blown an engine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You saw
right.
Sparks before he hit the fence.
I think he's blown an engine. And then, because these cars are all arriving out of shape because they're in his oil.
Yeah.
I think
that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not sure of that, but that's the way it appears.
Well, if you go back and have a look at it once more, you'll see sparks come out of the Ian Thomas car before it hits anything.
Yeah.
So you say to yourself, how come that's happening?
Now, the interesting thing is, as I was starting to say, is about not racing back to the flag. In the United States, when there's an incident and there's a yellow called, the cars actually race for that part of the lap back to the start-finish line. Then that decides where they restart. In Australia, we don't race back to the yellow.
Right.
And I saw that Bradley had overtaken
Robin Best comes back into the pits.
Max Dumsney on the run back. Now, obviously, race control has seen that also, because they've got on the radios to the crews and told Jones to fall back in behind Dumsney. So we've got an exact replica of the restart.
He's got a restart just like we were, and yet we still have 3 full green flag laps. We already have run 102 laps in this event.
Yes.
And meantime, Robin Bester said to his crew, fix that, boys, but hurry up, will you?
All they got to do really is give him a tire. It blew and took that fender with it, as you can
All
see.
they got to do is get it up high enough to put a jack underneath
Get a
it.
jack underneath it, give him a tire, and he'll be right back out there.
Rowan Harmon also still in the pits, waiting to get back out again. Just a few more of you to help push it up, if you wouldn't mind.
Hensley's right behind Jones, and Jones behind Dumsney, and then there's Charlie O'Brien back there in fourth. Those 4 cars are definitely powerful enough, any one of them, to get the win. So, geez, when we crank them back out under green, folks, I'll tell you, we hope you're enjoying this as much as we are. If I was sitting in my living room right now, I wouldn't be going nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. I might be getting me a glass of milk.
And Gerald McDonald's in the pits.
I have Peter Sportelli, Ian Thomas's.
Max Dumsney, Jones, and Hensley, and look at those lap times.
Country Club Casino car there of Gene Cook. That was a brand new body only this morning, you know.
It was that.
Yeah, it's been upgraded to the new 1994 specification Falcon body.
Tasmanian back again.
Shrunk in a lot of places.
Robin Best coming back into the action. Shepard is still showing up out there, though. He's in 7th spot again.
Yes.
In an ailing race car.
And John Faulkner's moved up into 8th position as well.
And Brad Noffsinger remains the other American, is back there in 14th. Way back there in 14th spot. Just getting that seat time.
Or just make a little bit of a mistake, not necessarily hit anything, just a hesitation, and wham, 2 or 3 of them could be by.
You're exactly right. I mean, it's tough to see a driver have to swallow $50,000, but they maybe won't have to do that here tonight. And Alan knows what it's like. I mean, 1 lap. I mean, if I'd have been in his shoes, I'd probably never got
It comes back out, rejoins the field. So 1.5 a lap to go now before the restart, and 3 sensational rip-em-up laps.
And they're going to be skating, John, through turns 1 and 2 because there's a lot of kitty litter down there. A bunch of them.
And it'll clean up on 1 line first.
That's right.
So if somebody wants to try and do an outside pass there, it makes it just that little bit harder.
Shepard's a lap down, so he'd have to unlap himself.
But look who's starting from down low. It is Morgan Shepard now.
Well, he could get the jump and hold Dumsney up a little bit, and Hensley could overtake him.
Yeah, now that'd be just ever so slightly unfair of the Americans to pull that,
It really would.
Here we go. The pace car's off.
Green flag.
And we're racing.
Look at
Morgan Shepard down the inside, and now Max Dumsney's got it.
They're back up going crazy here.
Morgan Shepard's got it.
No, he's back on the lead lap. He's got the point.
But he's still in front of these guys at this stage, so he's controlling the race to a degree. Brad Jones down the inside. Hensley also.
Brad Jones could box him in here, or the reverse. Just depends how hard they get in. Boy, they've gone in very, very hard. Side by side, Bradley comes out with just a nostril in front.
Look at
Hensley.
He's going to push the draft, try to make it work. There's 2 to go. Now, Shepard's just on the tail end of that lead lap. The battle is between Jones and Dumsney, and he just bottomed out bad. You can see the sparks flying out of Max's car. Hensley don't know which way to go.
Hensley just wants to get through. Max Dumsney now takes the lead. Dumsney is in the lead. Brad Jones is in 2nd position.
They're coming for the white flag, John. There'll be 1 to go.
There's some loose cars out there too.
Hensley looking for a way through the outside of Brad Jones. Charlie O'Brien coming up to threaten.
And a lap car in front.
Hensley's got 2nd.
Hensley's got 2nd.
Now he goes after Dumsney. Jimmy Hensley's going after Max Dumsney. Can he do it? He's a half a track away from the finish. Here he comes on the outside. Dumsney on the inside. Hensley's taking the dangerous road. Alan, I don't think he can get him. No!
And it's Dumsney. The Australians win, but only just from the Americans. Max Dumsney upholds the honour of Australia and wins for the first time against the American onslaught at the annual USA versus Australian Challenge at the Calder Thunderdome. What a race.
Jimmy Hensley gave it a fit, couldn't do it. Congratulations, Max Dumsney, the first Australian to win over the Americans, and they're going berserk on pit road. So is this crowd.
Is moving in to talk to John Sidney at the moment.
John Sidney, Melinda Dumsney, come on. You've got to be really proud. This has got to be the highlight of...
But so too Jimmy Hensley. I was very impressed with him those last 3 laps. He was forced by the Australians to take the high side, and he did. He ran up high, he ran in the kitty litter, and he really gave it his best shot. But he didn't win. Max Dumsney did.
And Brad Jones, a sensational job coming straight from the heart in a car that simply wasn't up to it.
Yes, and they battled with the car, they battled with the setup, and to their credit, they improved the car. They had a problem with the car that was very loose. They were chasing around looking for things loose in the back of it. Now, I know how that feels as a driver, and they have brought the car back and made it competitive, and that's a great effort.
Barry Graham moves in as well, one of the first people there to come this race. Max Dumsney wins in the Valvoline Auto Pro car from Jimmy Hensley from the United States in the Macro Vitamin Chevy Lumina, from Bradley Jones for Atlantis Relocations, and his new sponsor Kmart from Charlie O'Brien in the BOC Gases 6th position. Gene Cook in 7th. John Faulkner finally worked his way up to 8th position. Robert Tinworth in 9th, and rounding out the top 10, Jimmy Rich. Australian NASCAR Championships. Brad Jones, the rookie, retains his lead on 500 points. From Charlie O'Brien, 476. John Faulkner with his 8th place tonight on 462. Max Dumsney with his first comes right